this is new for all of us. The protocols that we are rolling out, that we are sharing with you, are new. We have not tried these out. And so it's very, very important that you provide feedback for things that are working or not working. You are the users of all this information, so we are also here to help you. We have a whole FACE team that is providing virtual sessions. Linda, if you can pop in our mailing list for our face-to-face sessions, that would be helpful. So these are sessions that we run. We have started running since the spring and through the summer, that should help you with many of the tasks that you have both at home and as school leaders. And so we also have our wonderful FACE managers. Each of them is assigned to one of 13 networks. They will be holding sessions monthly, in particular to introduce you to community partners, to let you know what's going on at the district, and to provide you with resources. I will be present at each of those meetings and doing a Title I topic every month. And then, Linda, if you would also add my contact information, I welcome your questions and your ideas at any time. So I'm going to start with a quick presentation. I'm hoping that I'm coming through clear. If not, if you could just pop it into the chat and let me know about that. And we'll see if I can move to another space that may give us better connection. So what we are going to be doing today, let me run through this. If you will just bear with me while I bring up the slides. So again, this is a session on how to run virtual PAC meetings. This will be a series of trainings around Title I and your role as PAC leaders. What we're going to do today is do a very high-level view of changes that are occurring for Title I this year. There will be more information that has been sent to your principals. We are also going to distribute all of the information that we have for PAC leaders, the mailing list that we currently have. If you're a PAC leader and you have not received something, make sure that you drop your email on the chat right now, or make sure that you reach out to me for that information. I will be going over some virtual meeting tips, things that might help you run meetings. And then finally, we're going to go through a sample of a PAC deck that you can use when you have your annual PAC meeting. This should help your meetings go a little bit smoother. And you're welcome to change the deck as you see fit, but it really goes through everything that you need to cover for your PAC meeting. And then finally, we'll leave a few minutes at the end for feedback, anything that you'd like for us to know, any information that would be helpful moving forward. So my name is Norma Celedon. I serve as the Title I District Manager. I've been with CPS for over 20 years, and I have worked in the budget departments, in the grants department, and now currently, and I used to do Title I analysis for private schools. Those were public school programs, but they were housed in private schools. And currently, I've been serving as the District Manager for Title I Family Engagement, and working with over 600 schools, including charters. So a little bit about what is new for Title I. So this year, compliance is paperless. And so what that means is we're not going to be collecting any forms. Attendance is going to be done through the chats in your meetings. There's also an Excel spreadsheet for attendance as something that you can use if you'd like to use it. We are going to be requesting that all meetings, because face-to-face or in-person meetings are not allowed, that all meetings be virtual, including the annual principals meeting and the annual PAC meeting where you do your elections, as well as the ongoing PAC meetings that happen monthly. Expenditure allowability has changed a little bit because of the roles that parents are playing at home. There are things that are now allowable, for example, materials to send home to help parents with their role as instructors at home. So paper, pencil, crayons, those kinds of things, little small erasable whiteboards. Those are things that we encourage. And there are also things that were normally allowable in the past that are not allowable. So furniture, food, equipment, projectors, things like that that are not needed at this time. And so those things are temporarily not allowable. Excuse me. The engagement that you're doing, parent engagement is key, and this is one of the major reasons for the Title I funds. The 1% that is allocated for parents is for engagement, so that is not happening in person, but that doesn't mean that engagement cannot happen, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. And these things are key. Collaboration is a must. It's very, very important that administrators are working hand in hand with parents and vice versa. Parents must really rely on the support and the collaboration of their administrator. Adapting and learning is key. It's important that we be flexible. These are new times, and people are doing the best that they can with the tools that they have. And so being flexible and adaptive and learning in the process is important. And finally, feedback is important. Not only feedback to the Phase 2 office, but feedback to anybody who is involved in the work that you're doing, because otherwise we do not know. And collective learning is really key to make sure that things change and get better. So I want to start by acknowledging the fact that meeting remotely can be challenging. One, it can feel awkward. We're social beings, and so oftentimes connecting with people through a screen can be strange. There's no physical greetings. Most of us are comfortable with either hugs or a handshake, or acknowledging somebody with a smile, and that's something we can't easily do. It's harder to read people, and again, it's important that we look at people's expressions or their body language. That's something that we can't as easily do when we meet remotely. We have poor connection sometimes. Even if we have good internet service, there are so many people on internet right now that oftentimes connection can be poor. And I hope not to prove that today, this afternoon. And then some of us don't understand tech language. I think that even people that are tech savvy, there are new things, there are new platforms, there's new features that we were not aware of. And finally, sometimes we don't know virtual etiquette. How do you behave? You know, sometimes we forget, either with the way that we share our screens or that we greet people. Sometimes we forget those little things that we don't forget when we're in person. So for those reasons, meeting remotely can be challenging, and meeting remotely is something that you're going to have to do as PAC leaders. So we're going to jump right into tips. And so the first one that I think is important is to be timely. So be prepared with what you're going to say and do. When you start your meetings, it's really important to enter at least 15 minutes ahead of time. You want to check your equipment. You want to check your materials. You want to test your sound. You want to make sure that your camera is positioned just so that, you know, it gives you the best background possible. And so you also, there's always people that arrive early. And so you want to make sure that you are there so that you can greet them as they come in. Greetings. Again, these are very important. I am often in meetings, whether I'm on time or whether I'm early, and all of a sudden there's silence. People are not interacting. Nobody's acknowledging that I got there. And so this is very, very important. Make sure that connecting is very important. Again, we are social beings. So make sure that you create community by greeting people. So oftentimes if you have a very cold room, then that may lead to a very cold meeting. So create community by greeting people by name as they come in. Most people's names are on their accounts when they sign in. Sometimes they're signing in with their children's accounts or a spouse's account. And oftentimes the name that's there is not the name that they have. Make sure that you use their name whenever possible. And ask them to correct you in case, you know, I think that this is Sally. If this is not Sally, let me know. And you should also acknowledge and thank early arrivals. Thank you for being here. It shows that you're committed. We'll be right back. Please be patient. So those greetings are important. Group agreements, I can't stress this enough. This is very important. These are stressful times. People can bring their stress into meetings. You know, there may be personality clashes. Maybe there was a difficult connection with someone who is now present, and those things may come into play. So it's very important that you create group agreements. And there's some people that don't know how to behave virtually. They may feel awkward. This is something new for them. And so creating some ground rules is a good way for everybody to be on the same page. This is some example. You can add whatever group agreements that you like, and we'll go through them again when I show you the deck for the PAC meeting. But being present, being respectful with your comments, being brief, silencing your mic. So I dropped some group agreements in the chat before we started. Those are examples, again, of things that you could do. You could put them in the chat, or you can put them on a deck that you create. And then once you share your agreements, you should ask participants to agree by adding a yes in the chat box or by raising their hands. So as an example, I want to point people to the chat that we had with our agreements. If people are in agreement with what we set out as the group ground rules, if they could drop a yes in the chat box, that would be helpful. And Linda, if you could let me know. I'm not able to see all of you right now, but Linda, if you could let me know if people are dropping in yeses. By doing something like this too, you also can tell if people are present, if people are participating, if people are listening to you as well. Okay, I'm moving on. Consider icebreakers. Icebreakers, especially if people are feeling awkward or uncomfortable or a little bit scared, if this is your first meeting, if you're not sure about technology, icebreakers help you, and it helps the people that are there present as well. So these are optional, of course, but they can create a mood for you. So you can use a quote. This quote here that says, "We've all got both light and dark inside of us. What matters is the part we choose to act on. That's who we really are." And so oftentimes you can choose a quote that can be short or long, and you can ask people to react to the quote, or you can just say, "I'm putting up a quote here just for you to think about before we start our meeting." You can even put the quote up before the meeting starts and have people sort of get in the mood. Sometimes this can change your attitude. It can create a positive and optimistic environment for your meeting. Maybe not, but this is something that you may want to consider. We have prepared a whole list of icebreakers for you to consider. So again, if you leave me your email, I can send you both copies of this PowerPoint as well as those tips and icebreakers for you via email. Technology challenges. This is all new for us. We ask that you be patient both with the others and yourself. Again, it's important to enter the meeting early. Acknowledge that there may be problems, and that if you have problems, you want to thank folks for their patience. And you should really be avoiding to criticize anyone who knows less than you. You should invite folks to provide advice. You know, there may be people who know a little bit more than you, but make sure that if they do provide advice, make sure that it's after the meeting so that they are not interrupting the session and that you are able to get through your agenda. And then it's important to express attitude and invite participants back. Thank them for being there. They have choices. They could have showed up or not. So express gratitude that they did show up. So even if it was a contentious meeting, even if it was a tough meeting, thank people for their participation. Thank them for being interested.
Can't hear you, Norma. You're frozen.
She may have to log back in.
can't hear either.
Okay, she's working on trying to get back in now.
I am so sorry that I lost you. I apologize. Let me finish the presentation. I believe that we ended. What was the last thing that was heard? Linda, is
What you have right now. That was the last one.
the technology challenges?
Yes.
Okay, so again, this is new for all of us. Ask people to be patient with you, and be patient with others as well. Make sure that you enter the meeting early, and acknowledge that there may be problems. If you do have problems, thank people for their patience. Avoid criticizing anyone who knows less than you, and you should always invite folks to provide advice. Just make sure that you do this after the meeting. It's also very important to express gratitude and invite participants back. People have a choice of showing up to your meeting or not, so you want to make sure that you express gratitude for them taking time to do that. You want to invite people to return. You want to invite their ideas at the end of your agenda. And this can be an icebreaker too. You know, what ideas do you have for next time? Or what would you like to see next time? And I think it's very important to let folks know why they're important. It's important for you to be here. It's important for us to know what you think. It's important for you to give us feedback on how we should use funds. Let us know what experiences you're having at home. And this is a fact that I wanted to leave you with. This is a fact based on research. People who express gratitude regularly or daily are individuals who tend to be happier and healthier. And finally, just the way that you have openings are important, closures are important as well. It lets people know that the meeting is officially over. You should be announcing your next meeting date and time, or your next steps, things that are going to follow, or letting people do or doing a summary of what people suggested. Sometimes people like to linger after the meetings, and sometimes that's a good sign. You know, people feel comfortable there, or they need additional information. Make sure to ask folks, you know, do people have any other questions? Is there something else that you wanted to say? And so if you're going to have to close the meeting because you need to end it, then just announce it. You know, I'm going to close the meeting now in case we lose you. That'll be the reason why, just so that you don't appear that you're being rude when you're closing a meeting. And again, consider ending with a quote or an icebreaker. That concludes the tips. I am sure there are many other tips out there in the internet, but I think these are very high-level ones that are helpful to you. So let me pause here so that I can see your faces and ask at this point if there are any questions. Are there any questions or comments?
Yes, I have a question. My question would be, by when is it still by October that we have to do our committee?
Yes, and because we have rolled out these guidance a little bit later than usual, we are the deadline to have both the principals meeting and the PAC meeting is October 31st for both meetings.
I think this may have answered one of these. There's a question here that says how many PAC meetings are required for PAC? Is it one a quarter?
No, it has never been one a quarter. It is one a month. And the reason for that is the purpose of Title I is to make sure that parent information is both being disseminated and that you're collecting feedback. And so it's very important to keep parents engaged. So the meetings once a month are required.
Okay, there's another one here that says, how do we go about scheduling them? Just with our school like normal?
Good question, Steph. And so this year we are asking our administrators to provide support by creating those meetings virtually. So when one creates a meeting on Google Meets, there is a link that is provided. So many of you are here because we shared that link. We ask the school, once you know what the dates are, for those links to be published ahead of time and for them to be posted first and foremost on the school website, and then any other way that you use to distribute that information. So it could be by Remind, it could be by paper flyers that you distribute at the meal distribution sites. It could be something that is posted on the door. So this is in addition to the school posting on the website. Question I see here. Our PAC is well attended at Hancock. We usually have 36 Spanish-speaking parents and 10 English-speaking. We are running into trouble with the length of the meeting since it is both languages. Do we have any advice? That is a tough one, Diana, because again, if you're doing it live, then I would suggest translation devices. Somebody told me that Zoom has a platform where they're able to do translations simultaneously and then project them. I don't know too much more about it, but that is one of the difficult things about having both languages. The other option, which is not such a good option, is to have two separate meetings, but then that divides the community, and I would not recommend it as much. Let me see, there's another question. If a topic is not specifically about student academics, for example, general parent financial literacy, can we still do it during a PAC meeting? If it's free, absolutely you can do it. You know, you can do as many things as you want to when you gather your parents. It is just when you are using one funds that it has to be tried. Linda asked, since we are doing a meeting virtually, can PACs have a CPS email or another email just for the parents' input rather than using our own personal email? We can explore that, but I don't think that is something that we are doing at this time. Can you, Linda, maybe you can express why that is important? I'm going to move into another question. So Zoom has the ability to have a channel to translate. That's what I had heard, Ellen. And so I don't know too much about it, but I will. Linda Washington, if you could write down a note for us to investigate that on Zoom, and then we can provide feedback to everyone else.
Okay.
And Claudia is confirming that. Okay. Is there a mandatory minimum of number of parents that must be present to count as a meeting? Yes, Steph. That number is 5. So it's always one more than the number of officers. So we have 4 officers, and so the quorum is 5. Thank you, Ellen, for providing that information. For the new October 31st deadline, do you mean that we still need to have a September meeting, but we could hold off on our organizational and principals meeting until the October meeting? Yes, both meetings have to occur until by October 31st. There are reports that are, so in lieu of forms that you have to fill out, you will be completing reports online. And again, you should be receiving that information from your FACE managers. But that has to be completed. The reports, the meetings have to occur by October 31st. The reports have to be in by November 2nd. That's a Monday. And so I would not wait until then. I mean, if you can gather people and have the information out sooner, I would encourage that. I also heavily encourage you to have meetings one right after the other. You can have one link and have one meeting start and then finish and then start the PAC meeting afterwards. And then remember that, you know, the sooner that you have those meetings, the sooner that you can start spending your PAC money. So again, I strongly suggest that. Rosaura is asking, is it the same forms from last year that are going to be used this year? There are no forms. This is going to be paperless. The schools just need to keep evidence of attendance and evidence that the meetings have been announced. And that can be as easy as taking a screenshot of your posting on your website. The agendas should be embedded into the chats or should be PowerPoint presentations for the meetings. And attendance should happen in the chats. And that can be as easy as, you know, please write present or right here. And that collects the information with a timestamp and with the person's name. The only thing is that I would ask if the name that you're using on your account, if you are not Rosaura, please write down what your name is and just right here. Ellen, thank you for sharing that information. Linda, yes, of course you can speak. Have the principals received their information for the annual meeting? Darlene, those were the FACE managers, I believe, have distributed them yesterday and today. If your principals have not received them, make sure that they reach out to their FACE manager. So who creates the Google Meet link and that will be sent to parents each month? The school will do that, Mark. The school should be creating those Google links. We are asking the schools to take the lead on that. Part of the problem is that since we are asking the schools, we're asking for meetings to be recorded, then those recordings will come straight to the school and the school can archive them. We are asking for the schools, however, to make sure that that information is shared immediately with the PAC officers, to make sure that PAC officers have those links so that they can use their own methods to recruit parents to those meetings. And of course, those links should be created with in collaboration with the PAC officers. So they should sit down and whoever it is at the school, a clerk or an AP or the principal themselves, whoever it is, that those can easily be done in just a few minutes if you know the times and if you know the dates. And if you have any questions about how to do that, I'm happy to help with that. So if people want to ask any other questions right now, or I can move right into the PowerPoint that was created to help guide you through the PAC meeting. And then we can leave some time at the end. It'll be very brief. We're not going to go into details. And we can leave some time at the end again to answer those questions. Okay, let me go right into the presentation. So this, again, is a PowerPoint that was created to make things easier and to have you have a guide as you go through your PAC meeting. Give me 1 second, let me bring it up. Okay, I'm hoping that you can see this. Can you see my screen? Linda, can you confirm
Yes, I
that you
can
can
see it. I can see it.
Okay. So let me start the slideshow. So this just starts with a letter from the phase 2. We are doing our best to provide as many supports as possible for you, and creating PowerPoints like this so that it can make things easier. This will be the first page of your presentation, and here where you see school name and date, of course you will put in your own information here, as well as the date of your meeting. This is a reminder to individuals that are participating that the meeting will be recorded, and you'll let them know that the meeting is being recorded because you want to make sure that it's made available to other parents. It's a way of archiving the meeting, just like when you keep paper copies. This is a way to keep a copy of the meeting, and it's also a good way to record your election results and the election process. Then this is an agenda that you can follow. Again, welcome, and then taking attendance, the icebreaker, which is optional, group agreements, which you can change, a little bit about what Title I is. There are many parents who don't know what it is, and so I thought important to put in a slide about that. Number 5 will be a place for you to put your allocation, what the school has received in terms of funding. And then the next slide will be ideas that you will generate from the participants about how the funds can be used. It'll go through some questions about what are our specific needs for our school, what is the priority. Then we move into the election of officers, and then we move into the selecting meetings for the year. So I'm going to go through the PowerPoint so that you can see what is in there. I want to escape for a second because I want you to see here that for every slide here, there are directions here at the bottom of things that you should be doing. So this, for example, says read this out loud or have one of the parents read it out loud. This is when it's being recording. This tells you start recording after this is announced. Like the agenda, it says go through the agenda, stick to your agenda at times if it'll help you stick to it. And so every slide that you see here has some instructions about things that you can do, so you are not lost when you're actually running the slides. So let me go back to presentation mode. So again, when you do the welcome, you just mentioned that in order to record their attendance, you want to confirm how people are connected to the school. So you ask them, please, in the chat, share your name, your role with the school, and your child's name and grade. And so there's some examples here. You know, it could be Mary Smith, who's a parent of Sharon in grade 5, or maybe it's Mr. Parker, the assistant principal, or Chris Rodriguez, who's a community member. Those are just examples. Again, this is a space for an icebreaker. You can take this slide out. You don't have to do this. This is an option. And again, we do have a list of icebreakers and suggestions for quotes, places where you can find quotes if it's something that you want to add to your slide presentation. These are samples of group agreements. So again, be respectful, keep it positive, silence your mic, share your comments on the chat. Me and then 3 is one of my favorite. These are people who tend to be talkers in meetings. And so if you have that agreement that it's, if you say something, then you wait till at least till 3 other people speak before going again. And so this is a good way to maintain some good flow and make sure that everybody gets a chance to speak. So these are just, again, suggestions. You can certainly add or change the agreements as you see fit. This is just a slide about what is Title I. It's the largest and oldest federal allocation. It's been around 665. It's been updated 8 times in the last 50 years. Every time it gets updated, it has a new name. The latest name for Title I is Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA. And if you have been around long enough, you know that the one before that was No Child Left Behind NCLB, so it's no longer NCLB. And there are guidelines that are expected by the federal and state governments, which is why we collect forms and we have to collect evidence that we are complying with the law. And that's for everybody. It's not just the schools. It's for any department that received Title I funding. For example, my salary is 100% with Title I funds. A key part of the law is meaningful consultation with parents. And so what does that mean? It just means checking in with parents and making sure that parents are part of decision making. The ultimate decision making is the administration, but it has to be done with parent feedback, and it has to be informed by what the parents' needs are. So just as a reminder, Title I is all about improving student performance, even the 1% that is for parent engagement. It is about engaging parents by improving their skills to support student performance. So this is just a very high level. We'll be having more sessions and more conversations about what is Title I on a month-to-month basis. And so if parents want more information, refer them either to me personally or to attend some of those monthly meetings. This is just a little bit about what meaningful consultation means. And it's just creating opportunities for parents to share their needs, transparency of information. You know, this is not private information. This is public information, and what happens with those funds. It's important that there be transparency about those uses, and that responses from parents are done respectfully and timely to make sure that parents continue to be engaged. This is a slide where you can put in what your allocation is for the year. This is part of the law. You have to be transparent about how much funding you have. Parents need to know, again, according to policy and the law. And then this is just an exercise that is where you open it up and you say, okay, what do you think? How do you think we could use these funds? And so it can start by asking some of these questions. What are our needs? You know, don't think about we have $2,500 that we need to spend. You know, what should we buy? Should we buy new curtains? Should we buy, you know, what is it? Let's start by asking what are our needs. So think about what is most urgent. And of course, we are living in a state of urgency. So what is most important? You know, I would say it's supporting the parents at home. So how do we do that? And then the other thing is that this is not a huge pot of money based on the number of parents we have. So it's very important that you either think about families with students that are most at risk of failing, or think about how as many parents as possible can benefit from those funds. So a way that as most people can benefit is by having, for example, speakers or trainings where you can invite a large number of parents. Whereas if you decide we're going to send materials home to parents, you know, you may only be able to get materials for, I don't know, I'm making this up, 20 families or 50 families. If that is the case, then the school has to be able to prove or provide evidence of how those priorities were selected. You know, well, we're looking at, you know, the students that are doing worst, or we're looking at the kids who were not advancing in reading, and maybe that is the 4th and the 8th graders. I'm not sure. You know, whatever it is, you have to list that. And then here is where people can decide and give their advice about how you use the funds, and what amounts do we use, what are the ideas that we have. And so this is just sort of like a worksheet to kind of go through that questioning, and make sure that when you do this piece of it, that you put a time limit on it, you know, because otherwise these conversations can go on and your meeting can turn from 1 hour to 2.5 hours. So you have to just be careful and say, okay, we're going to discuss this for the next 20 minutes. If we can't agree, we're going to table this, or we're going to move to another time when we can discuss this at length. So this is just so that parents know what is allowed and what isn't. And again, a reminder, because of remote learning, allowable and non-allowable has changed a little bit. And so this is just a list, a very high-level list of things that are allowed: materials to send home, stipends for teachers or staff to help. And again, it's not help for the students, it's help for the parents. Memberships for virtual resources, that is another area that you could use the funds for, or presentations. Areas, things that are not allowed: food, furniture, gift cards, field trips. Those are all examples of things that are not allowed. And then this is just a reminder: if you have to stretch your funds and you cannot afford to bring in a speaker, this is a wonderful time to take advantage of the virtual offerings that Face-to-Face has. We have wonderful vendors. We have had, if any of you have attended the sessions, I invite you to just share in the chat if there are things that you have liked. But we have had different areas here: technology, creative arts, how to have healthy home environments, self-care, nutrition classes, movement classes. We've had all kinds of folks come in and do wonderful workshops. Some of them are paid, some of them are by vendors that are normally presenting at school. So take advantage of this. It will be free to the school. And this will be a way to supplement what you're doing, and you could earmark or use those funds in another way. So again, this is the mailing list link. Linda, if you could copy that and put it in the paste, that would be helpful. Election guidelines, you just remind folks that only parents of a current child may run for office. Only parents present in the virtual session may vote. Parents have to be present in the meeting to be considered for PAC officers, for a PAC officer position. And voting has to be done by entering their vote in the chat section and by visibly raising their hands. It says here submitting an electronic ballot, but that's no longer the case. We remove that. Again, this is where you would read the responsibilities of the chair, and you can ask somebody to do that. You will ask then who is interested in the position. This is also a time where if there are more than one individual, or even if it's the one individual, you give them a couple of minutes to share about themselves or why they're interested in the position, and that can help people in selecting who they're going to vote for. And then again, you ask them in the chat box to add their vote by typing the name of the position chair, the name of the person that they're voting for. And this goes through for every one of the positions. So again, it's vice chair, secretary, and outreach coordinator. And again, I would start by reading the responsibilities and then inviting people who are interested, asking them to speak, and then asking folks to vote. After everything is done, then you let them know that you're going to be taking a few minutes to count the votes. This could be a time where you can return to talking about the use of funds while the person is counting the ballot, the ballots and the votes. And then when you come back, you just come back and announce the voting results. And below this slide, you will find an example of how you can report that. And I'm actually going to stop so that I can show you. And so here this is what you're going to type in. So it'll be chair, and the winner is Janet Bettis. Mary Smith had 10 votes, and Janet had 12 votes. Your vice chair is Jared Scott. Sylvia Jefferson got 6 votes, and Jared Scott got 16 votes, etc. So you do this for each of the positions. Let me go back to this. And then this is just a slide that says congratulations to the new PAC. And then you move into your monthly meetings. So you remind them they're going to be held virtually. Links are going to be created and shared by the school, and meetings will be held on the following dates. So you start choosing dates for each of the session. Of course, the September one is your organizational meeting, if this is when you have it, or October. So these will start based on when you have your organizational meeting. And then this is a reminder both for you and for the parents that There's going to be orientation training for new PAC members. Again, if you leave your email, I can send you all of those dates so that you can have, but your principals will receive them in the packet. Your current PAC officers will also receive a toolkit that has all of that information as well. There's the monthly network meetings, so they should contact their FACE manager to get on their mailing list. There's also monthly Title I topics that I'm going to be providing. Also, every 2 months, I will be holding assistance clinics. So this will be like sort of office hours or drop-in times when if you have a question about, how to use your money, or you have questions about what is allowable, those will be times that people can learn from each other. This is also time for people to share what they're going to be doing with their monies. And then there's also, we're going to be doing a parent leadership series. And those are going to occur in November and December. And so any parent, particularly preference is going to be given to parent leaders, but any parent can participate in those parent leadership series. It could be someone who's interested in running in the future. And so this is a good way to strengthen those leadership skills. If you still have questions, these are the list of all of your FACE managers with their emails listed here. We have a vacancy in Network 6, but the FACE director, Kareem Pender, is taking their place. And we also have Pam Price, who is taking the place for Network 3, but she has been around for a very long time and knows everything inside out and is an excellent support for Network 3 schools. And then finally, this is a slide thanking them and just letting them know that the recording of this meeting is going to be posted. And this is where you would write down it's going to be posted on the school website, or it's going to be posted, wherever it is, if it's going to be posted. And then announcements and agendas of future meetings can be found, and then you can list where that they can be found, or you can list that they're going to be sent to you through a Remind app or through robocall. I mean, whatever it is and however it is that you're going to announce future meetings. So that is the deck for the PAC annual meeting. Any comments, any questions? I see tons of questions here in the chat. Yes, Trinidad asked if the slides, yes, this is available in both English and Spanish. So this presentation is both English and Spanish. And so are the virtual tips. The virtual meeting tips and the deck that I shared with you are all in Spanish as well. Okay, any other questions? I'm scrolling back to see if there's anything. Oh, these are emails. Any other questions or comments? Do you think that this is helpful? Do you think that this will work? What kind of challenges do you think that you're going to face when you roll this out?
I have a question.
Sure.
Is there any other new providers that are going to be available to the
Lilia, I wasn't sure I heard the whole question. Are there new providers? And I don't know what the rest of the question was.
that they're going to be providing workshops online?
That is something that I don't know. I would go back to whoever your providers were in the past. If you give me a call, if you tell me exactly what you're looking for, I can tell you some of the folks that we have used, and then we can take it from there. We can figure it out.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Any questions or comments?
Hi, I have a question, or I'm
Yes.
just looking for ideas. We've struggled with attendance at our PAC in the past, and I think it's going to be an even bigger issue this year. And we've also had some PAC board, like some of the officers who are unable to continue this year. I'm worried about attrition on PAC. And so I'm wondering if anyone has ideas about outreach. And I feel like we were going to need to reintroduce people to PAC this year anyway, but it's going to be so much harder because we're not all together. And I could use some ideas and resources for outreach.
You know, it's really funny, Sarah, but I mean, I think that engagement is an issue district-wide, and it's not particular to any one school. But I think that what I have found through what I have seen is when you create community, and I know it's really tough and it takes a while to build and to do that, but we have surprisingly found that there are more people or different people that are engaging electronically, virtually, than they were in person. And so I don't know if this is because I don't have to travel, or we don't know if there are issues, I don't know, phobic about going out, or just mental health issues. I'm depressed, I don't feel like going out. I mean, I don't know what the reasons are, but we are finding more people engaging virtually than they have in the past. I'm not sure if that would be the case for you, but I also open it up to anybody. Is anybody having these similar situations? The other thing is that when you remind people several times, it is very helpful. So you can send it out 5 times, and I don't think that that's too much. Or if you remind them right before it's going to happen, if you're able to text or to send a remind, or I'm not familiar with it, but I've heard that people use Class Dojo. If you can do something like that, that is helpful for people to show up at the last minute. Do a phone tree, Ellen says, if it's possible. Get the teachers reminding the parents, yes. And so it's really about the reminding, because, and I remember my days of being a parent, if people, I don't care how many notices they send, if people don't remind me a day before, then I'm going to forget. I have so many things to do. Lean on the staff. Yes, Ellen, wonderful. Engage your parent fundraising group if you have one. Thank you for those wonderful suggestions. Sarah, I don't know if
I have another question.
Yes.
Can I held my meeting like if I just keep 5 people in like somewhere else, like in a library or something, or does it has to be virtual?
It has to be virtual. We can't support we can't support in person until there are health guidelines that indicate that we can do that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Lily. Any other questions or comments?
What? Sorry, another one. Do I have to wait for the principal to tell me a date for the first meeting, or okay?
So this is not waiting for the principal, but the principal has to be knowledgeable of what those dates are. And the principal has to be in agreement with what those dates are. You want to make sure that those meetings are not clashing with something else that is going on with the school. And the principal should know. I mean, this is about her school. She should know. And in an ideal world, the PAC officers sit down with the principal and say, let's choose dates. And so remember that at the PAC annual meeting, you're also asking the parents, what suggestions do you have? So if you know those dates ahead of time of the meeting, then you list them. But ideally, you want the new PAC members to help select those dates.
Okay, and do we have to stick with the schedule that they have, like 9 to 3 or something? Because most of the parents work, or not necessarily?
No, not necessarily. What we have suggested is if you can have a meeting in the morning 1 month and a meeting in the evening another month, this is a good way to get different types of parents involved.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
And right now is ideal. You don't have to travel. I think, Veronica, did you have a question?
I didn't have a question, but I wanted to say we have trouble, and I think it's, I mean, every PAC meeting I've been to, it's always about how do we get more people in. One of the things we do at our school is we have a night where we have, it's called Parent Forum, and we do all of our ALSC, our fundraiser, we have an equity team, and PAC, we're doing all their meetings together, sort of back to back. The school provides the meal, we don't provide the meal. We have childcare, so that was one good thing that we did. And then we also started a Friday morning coffee with our security guard, who's like, we call him the mayor of the school, but everybody knows him, and we take like an hour every other Friday morning for this JP's Corner. And I started getting a huge turnout for that. So then we started moving the PAC meetings to JP's Corner, because we'd have 30 parents almost every week, or every other week when we did it. So it is very hard, but it's being out there talking to parents right now. It's I don't know how to start recruiting people. We're using our Facebook site. We're using our PAC email list, doing all that kind of stuff to just be like, we're still doing JP's Corner. Even over the summer, we did that, and we still are having 20 parents turning out for that. So we'll have that for the PAC meetings, which is great. But we've already, we've been doing that for 2 years. But that's a great way to start it, even if you don't have JP in your school, just to get parents together to talk.
So Veronica, what is the draw from JP? What is it that he offers?
Clearly you don't know JP. He's this really larger than life, and he's been at our school since the doors opened, and he's a fixture in the community, and he works with the kids, and he knows everybody. He's just a really great guy. And in the morning, he and I, he directs traffic in the morning, and I get kids out of the cars. So we're sort of like this team that parents are used to seeing every morning. So that has been really hard not being, at school for that. But JP is like every kid's uncle at our school. Everybody loves him. All the parents love him. He knows, he doesn't maybe not always know he always knows what's going on, but if he doesn't have the answer, he knows who to get you to. He knows how to find out for you. So he's just a person that everybody in the building knows.
Thank you, Veronica. And so
Sure.
I sort of suspected that, but wanted you to say it out loud, because it doesn't have to be a JP. It could be somebody else, and it could be somebody that really, with their behavior or with their energy level, sends the message: you're important. Your stories are important. This is a relationship that can be trusted, and so. Thank you for sharing that. And I was going to say there has to be a draw. Why are parents coming? So this answer is also for Sarah. Like, what is there? Is there something that you can do? Is there a draw? Is there a special conversation? And I think that when you also involve parents, if you ask them, can you come and share? Or we're having the opening of the meeting, can you please read a quote? I heard you love to quote people. Can you come and share a quote? I mean, anything that'll hook them in and make them feel like they're important and they're being part of the meeting is also helpful. And it's a way to kind of build things a little bit at a time. Sarah, you and I can talk a little bit more about that. If you want to reach out to me afterwards, I can give you some ideas about things that you could do.
Okay,
that
great.
I have worked in other places.
Thanks, everyone.
So I want to respect our time. It's 5 o'clock, but I also want to make sure that anyone who had ideas or feedback, that this was helpful. Do you feel that this is helpful? Is there something that I should change? Linda, if you want to stop recording, that would be great.
To me, it has been very grateful.